Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so welcome already week 6. Um, and unfortunately, Kate is sick this week.
I'm a fill-in,
So
last minute fill-in.
Joan is last. So, she's an understudy, just stepped in this morning. So, don't get the main star, but we do what we can. All right. Gets an Oscar, yeah. All right. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, yes, do you want me to read this slide or ask you?
No,
Give me-
just ask me about it.
Okay, this is an interesting slide. I see some things there that are aching my heart. Well, a couple things there that are really breaking my heart. So would you like to explain?
Yeah. So, what I try to do at the beginning is bring together what we're going to talk about. And I saw that quote from Winston Churchill. Now, this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. And I thought that was appropriate because for our course today, this is kind of the end of the beginning, session 6. And next week, we're going to move on to, we're going to start talking about personality, which is a central concept. We're going to spend a lot of time discussing personality and what makes up personality, which is, we're going to spend the rest of the course talking about personality. So this was all kind of preparation. So I thought, well, that's an appropriate quotation because it marks kind of a watershed in, what we're doing in the course. We have 32 sessions already, session 6. And then I thought, well, it's appropriate in other ways because I don't know how many of you follow American politics, but it was kind of sorry. Yeah. So it was a eventful week in American politics. Like there's the election for governors in a couple of states and New York City mayor and stuff like that. And yeah. So, and clearly people, kind of, there's a bit of backlash against Trump. One of the things that happened in California was this Proposition 50. And I don't know if you know about it, but, Texas kind of decided, or Trump asked the governor of Texas to, redistrict the district so that it would favor the Republicans. They're going to pick up 5 seats, right? Because they're in 2026 is going to be a congressional election again. And they're kind of wanting to hold on to the Republican majority. And so what the governor of California did, which is like a blue state, so it's a Democratic state, he said, well, let's have this referendum and ask people to offset what they're doing in Texas if we're going to redistrict our map as well, so we can kind of offset the 5 seats they're picking up in Texas by 5 seats in California. So that was Proposition 50, and that was yesterday as well, and that passed. So, but it was kind of more of a democratic thing, like Texas, Abbott just kind of unilaterally declared, we're going to do this. It didn't kind of poll people. So, here's what I thought we'd do, because you're kind of, waiting to see, how do I bring in the World Series into this? Everybody's kind of,
I know.
it's like, how's he going to pull that in? So I thought, that, and let me see if I can, there, we can get this out of the way. So, so I thought we'd have, instead of Proposition 50, we're going to do Proposition 51. Okay. And it's going to be a referendum that we're going to do, right now. And the referendum, so I picked like a really fancy kind of like 18th century writing, because it's an official document, right? So it's important. So it's harder to read. But I'll read it for you guys. So we, the people of the simple course, declare that the results of the 2025 World Series null and void. Okay. The World Series championship will now be decided by a winner-take-all playoff Jeopardy game between the Avondale Angels and the Zoom Zen Masters, to be held on November 5th, 2025. The winning team will henceforth be accorded all the honors, rights, and privileges attached to the title of Simple Jeopardy World Champions. Okay, so that's the referendum. I'm going to take, ask you to show your hands, but that's just to say, because this is like a watershed, and we're moving on to other stuff. Last year began this thing where Joan and Nicole have a game of Jeopardy. So they're going to do that in the second half, but it's Simple Jeopardy. So all the questions, all the answers have to do with, the skills and tools that we've learned so far. And so the teams are going to be, the Avondale Angels are the people who are in person, and the Zoom Zen Masters are all the people that are on Zoom. So it'll be kind of a international sort of
interactive game.
Yeah.
Lighthearted, fun.
Okay, so this is where we are, week 6. And okay. Well, let's start with our mindfulness practice. I'd put that first. Let's I'm not going forward. Hold on one second. Okay.
Dashboard.
So Joan, can you spot the difference between this one and the one we had last week?
Yeah, I see there we have still our skills like the fire danger, a gas tank, and if we're hot or cold. But now we have in here the Hole's Diary card. Targets, the targets.
So because this is about our, internal personal dashboard, where, it encourages us to be more mindful of what's happening within us. So why do you think I put the Hole's Diary card there? Do you think that's like part of a personal dashboard?
It is. It's something, it's like our daily intention, our looking at our targets and tracking them every day, and becoming more aware of them. And hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to identify at least one target that they're working on.
So having said that, because this is a new personal dashboard, and this is the one we're going to work forth with, in the future, didn't put that in there before because we hadn't introduced the Hole's Diary card yet. Okay, so let's, before we do our mindfulness exercise, I'm just going to encourage you to check in right now with your personal dashboard. And if you don't mind just reading the different items.
Yes, so first off, what is the current risk that you are experiencing right now? Are you low, moderate, high, very high, or extreme? Take a few moments. And then check in again. Are you in the window of tolerance? Yes, hopefully. Or are you perhaps a little outside of that window of tolerance? Or are you very outside of the window of tolerance? Take a few moments, check in with that. And then check in, where is your energy tank right now? Are you full and ready to go? Are you 3/4, half a tank full, or are you near empty? There. And then finally, have you been tracking your targets using the Hole's Diary card? How would you rate your targets right now if you have?
So today, for our mindfulness practice, let me just try to okay. For mindfulness practice, we're going to do something called the emotional freedom technique. How many people, just raise your hands, are familiar with the emotional freedom technique? Okay, so emotional freedom is a really quick, it's probably considered a physiological distress tolerance skill. You're going to talk about physiological distress tolerance skills next time around, I think, not this week.
Not this week.
You'll see it's really quick, but it's not something that's presented in the skills training workbook. It's, because the skills training workbook doesn't cover all the possible skills, but it's one that's like really easy to use. So just keep it in mind. The other thing, keep in mind as you're watching the video is that they talk about coming up with a preparatory statement that you're going to repeat to yourself, okay? And that could be the target in your Hose Diary card. So when you hear that, think about your target. We can talk more about this in the question and answer period. Okay. All right. I apologize in advance for the commercials.
The winner of the San Pellegrino Yacht Chef Academy is Hardy Ferguson.
Need money for a rainy day? Get approved in minutes with Easy Financial without impacting your credit score.
Myself, or simply, I accept myself.
Oh,
A lot of people feel resistant to this.
Starting in the middle here. Sorry. Okay. Let's do that again.
Welcome to the tappingsolution.com. This is Jessica Ortner, and welcome to our How to Tap area. Here we'll provide all the information to help you get started right away to use this incredible stress relief technique that will really benefit your mind and your body. Now in this video, I'm going to show you where the tapping points are so you can get a visual. The first point is the side of the hand, and it's the karate chop point. So tap on that fleshy part. The next point is the eyebrow point, and it doesn't matter which side of the body you tap on. Just
Oh, it's coming.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's just somebody was.
pick a side and tap where the beginning of your eyebrow begins, right on that hair. I hope you're tapping along with me. You're gonna follow that bone until you're on the side of the eye, staying on that bone. Then underneath the eye, again, staying on that bone. Underneath the nose. The chin point, which is actually the crease between your lip and your chin. Your collarbone point. I like to just take my whole hand and tap where a man's bow tie would lie, and you'll stimulate the point. Then underneath the arm, about a hand width from your armpit. Then you end with the top of the head. Those are the 9 points in this tapping algorithm, and that is 1 round. So what you do is you begin by saying the setup statement. The setup statement is, even though I have this problem, so even though I have this anxiety, even though I have this headache, I love and accept myself, or simply, I accept myself. A lot of people feel resistant to this. They say, why would I ever say I accept something that I want to get rid of? Well, it's our inability to accept a feeling that usually keeps it stuck in place. By saying the setup statement, it sets us up for the rest of the process, helps neutralize any judgment we have around the problem. So you say the setup statement 3 times, then you tap on the rest of the acupressure points while simply saying how you feel. It's not about the fancy language, it's about being honest with how you're feeling, bringing that up in your body and tapping on that acupressure, on these acupressure points. Again, sending that calming signal to the brain, letting your brain know that even with this thought, you are safe and it's okay to relax. So let me give you an example of what one tapping round may look like. If you are stressed around, say, a deadline, you would tap and say, even though I feel so stressed around this deadline, I love and accept myself. Even though I feel stressed around this deadline, I accept myself. Even though I feel stress around this deadline, I love and accept myself. Whatever variation of the setup statement you'd like to use is perfect. And then we're going to tap on the rest of the points just while we vent. So it would go something like this. The stress around this deadline. Side of the eye, I have too much to do. Under the eye, it's too much for one person. Under the nose, all this pressure that I feel. Chin, this pressure I feel to do it perfectly. Collarbone, this pressure around this deadline. Under the arm, all this pressure around this deadline. Top of the head, all of this pressure. It's as simple as trusting your intuition and really just giving a voice to the tape you're already playing in your head. You might already be having that panicked conversation. Now have that conversation with yourself while stimulating the points to really see a difference. You'll get to the point where you can say these things, you can think these thoughts without having the tension, the physical response. And that is where the real change happens. Well, I hope that is enough to help you get started. Continue reading here to get more information, and welcome to thetappingsolution.com.
Okay. You can put that in your crisis plan. It can be one of your distress tolerance skills, okay? We've covered many other distractions. Nothing else is kind of a distraction, right? If you're in a hole. All right. What I did is I put in a few slides there about internal the emotional freedom technique. And it's a bit of a template. So it tells you how to do it, shows you the tapping points and takes you step by step how you do this. So there's a few slides there. I won't go through them now, but they'll be on the website. Okay. All right. So let's do our reminders. This is from the homework from last week. I won't go over that, but let's go over the homework for this coming week. Do you want to?
So reminders to submit any questions or comments or feedback to the itssimple2023@gmail.com email account. Read the Simple Manual Session 10, Introduction to Personality.
And people are getting confused because next week is week 7.
Yes.
But in the book, it's session 10
Yes.
because we're not in sync anymore. Because the
Right.
book was like, I wrote it 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, things have changed. So
Okay.
don't get confused by that.
Yeah. So it's session 10 in the Simple Manual for week 7. Have your targets in your diary card and use it daily. Continue reviewing and practicing your crisis plans. And continue tracking all the skills you've learned using your skills list or that DBT diary card that we have. We prefer the skills list, just checking off the ones that we have talked about and the ones that you have used and found helpful.
Okay. So I think people have shown their appreciation that people are able to keep their comments brief. So everybody gets a turn during the question period. And also we're appreciating people are saving all their comments and questions for those times. So just a quick reminder about that.
Yeah, another weekly reminder, Roger, the custodial team here at the Avondale Church, asked us to kindly bring our indoor footwear and leave our outdoor shoes and boots under the bench at the entrance now that it's getting a little bit yucky outside. So the bench he's referring to is if you come from the back parking lot, there's a couple of benches there and there's mats that you can put your shoes. I think we talked about if you come in the side door here, we'll try to have some mats here for you to bring a change of footwear once the weather gets a little more.
Because it gets really slippery here if it's wet.
Yeah. So that you're not overwhelmed, not to overwhelm you, this week we won't introduce any new material.
Other than your skills.
Other than what Nicole and I are going to present today. Crisis plans and HOLE's diary cards are very important. We want to make sure everyone understands how to use them. Next week, we'll start a discussion of a key topic, understanding personality, or what shapes and how you can change your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Okay, some more reminders. So today, because this was somebody's question and somebody's suggestion, in the poll today, we're going to ask you if you're interested in a homework group. People said, oh, that'd be something that would be good. And the thought was, if we're going to do it, we'd hold it just before the Boeing group on Monday. So Boeing normally starts at 1, goes until 2:30. And if we're going to do a homework group, we'd start at 12:30. I'd have to bring my lunch because I see somebody up until 12:30, but I could come for 12:30. And we could do for half an hour the homework group, right? We pair people up. And then starting at 1, we still have the regular Boeing group. So you wouldn't have to come to the homework group. If you just want to do the boing group, there's kind of separate things. The purpose of the homework group would be to encourage you to keep up with the skills and tools homework by being accountable, having a place where you can share, some of the obstacles that you're encountering and find strategies and encouragement to overcome them. So what we thought we might do, if you're interested, is we pair people up in 2s or 3s, right? And you kind of talk about the homework and what you're struggling with, and I'd be available to answer questions and stuff. I'd be eating my lunch at the same time. And we said to start this and keep it going, probably be good to have at least 8 people. So that's where we're going to put in the poll question. And if we get at least 8 people, then we'd be starting this coming Monday and come at 12. And you don't have to come. You don't have to come to the boing group at all, right? But I think it would be another way to encourage you to do this homework. Okay.
Can I jump in with a quick reminder as well for the Zoom folks? If you're on Zoom, we ask that your username be your first name and last initial, or whatever you arranged with Dr. Clado. There are a couple usernames on here right now that we can't identify who it is, and it's just really important for confidentiality reasons that we know that everybody who's in here is supposed to be. I've messaged you if this applies to you. If you can't figure out how to change your username, maybe just send me a quick message back and let me know who you are. Thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. We had our second boing group this past Monday, and 17 people came, which was wonderful. We worked on finding targets for Hole's diary cards. People felt that the discussion helped them understand and find their targets and start doing their Hole's diary card on their own. Next Monday, we can talk more about the material we've covered so far, the distress tolerance skills, crisis plans, Hole's diary cards, and the techniques and strategies, suicidal thinking, and self-harm content. Anything else you can think of, email us questions or subjects you would like to talk about, or let us know what they are when we do boing check-in.
Okay, so you're Kate, so you have to read Kate's summary.
Oh, goodness. It looks beautiful, Kate. I hope if we can get that back to her. No, okay. So in session 5, are we calling it session 5 or week 5?
Week 5.
Week 5, we talked about more distress tolerance skills. We did safe place visualization, cue control relaxation, where you have that cue word that you like breathe or relax, rediscovering your values, rehearsing value-based behavior, and connecting with your higher power. And that doesn't have to be a God per se. It could just be your spiritual self or something connecting with nature, whatever you believe in. The second simple tool, the Hole's diary card, the crisis hole, you're in it or you're not. We talked about how to find your targets and how to rate them. Diary cards is like a staircase with steps because there's a spectrum of severity of dysregulated feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. So that's why it's important to track daily so you can see where you are on that staircase, right? The further down on the staircase, the more intense the emotion, feeling, or behavior. And if you're closer to the sidewalk at the top, they're probably less intense. Targets for change can be more severe or closest to crisis, or less intense and closer to the window of tolerance. Targets can be dysregulated feelings, dysregulated thoughts, dysregulated behaviors, or maladaptive coping. And I'm glad that Kate included topography here, because I like that word topography, and it may become in handy later on when Nicole and I have our presentation, is the intensity of the emotion and how it changes over time, right? Crisis plans are for when you're at the bottom of a hole, whereas diary cards will help you become more mindful of when your problematic thoughts, feelings, and behaviors arise before you're in full crisis. This is where you will start to see patterns, make changes, and develop your self-awareness with practice.
Okay. Just as a reminder, if you're on Zoom and you can draw. And last year we had all kinds of drawings, and to reset it, I have to kind of log out of the PowerPoint and start a new PowerPoint thing. So it takes like a little bit. So just as a reminder, I know people are not doing it on purpose, but yeah. Okay. So we did have a few questions that were emailed to us, and we try to address them. Okay. So one question somebody sent was, I'm on Zoom. Do I need to have my camera on all the time? So this is for the Zoom people. And what we said is, and we talked about this at the beginning, is that it's good if when you log in, if you have your camera on, right? During the time we're presenting slides. You don't have to, you can turn your camera off. When we're doing question period, it's good if you can turn your camera on again. But for most of the session, you can turn it off. Just turn it on when we're interacting with each other in the beginning, so we can see, that it's you that's there. Okay, so that's one question. The other question, I think, well, Lauren already talked about this, but I'm on Zoom. Do I need to sign in with my name, or can I just leave it in the default settings, such as iPhone or iPad? Okay, so Lauren said that, because if you just sign in as iPad or iPhone, we don't know who you are. And, maybe you got the link from somebody, and, everybody has to be registered to do this course. We don't want people who aren't registered. We're very open to anybody can take the course, but we have to know who you are. Some people don't know how to change the settings to their name. We can help you with that. But yeah, you do have to, there's one person, for example, they kind of agreed with us, and they just want to have two initials instead of like their first name and the initial of the last name. And they let us know, so we know, so they can sign in that way, but we know, right? So talk to us about it. Okay. So the other question, somebody wrote in and said, I was thinking about the practice with Chris. So that would have been 2 weeks ago. With the crisis plan, this wasn't last week.
Oh, the week before.
Was it last? It was last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last week. I was thinking about the practice with Chris last week, and I'm trying to understand why people who have parents they can't rely on or trust are so much more susceptible to developing mental health problems when they then experience traumatic events. Okay, is that?
Don't wonder.
You don't wonder. Okay, so I tried to come up with an answer based on attachment theory. So what I wrote there is, when something frightening or overwhelming happens, your body's alarm system, the fight, flight, or freeze response, gets switched on. Okay, that's normal. That happens with everybody when something frightening. Not necessarily the freeze, but the fight or flight. It's your body's way of keeping you safe from danger, prepares you for danger, get away. But if you've been through trauma, your body may start to believe that danger is always nearby. Okay? Even when you're not in real danger, your system stays partly stuck in fight, flight, or freeze mode. You feel tense, anxious, or shut down more often than calm and relaxed. Now, attachment, which we're going to talk about a lot, because attachment is one of the big things that shapes personality and shapes how we react and how we feel and how we behave, right? That sometimes we don't do it for rational reasons, we do it for attachment reasons, right? We're going to talk a lot about that, but we already touched on it. So, this person was kind of asking about it. Attachment adds another layer. Normally, when we're scared or upset, what do? We look for comfort, especially if you're a child, and safety in someone we trust. Think of, kids are scared. They run to like a parent or a protective figure, right? All right. But if early on, when you're a kid, we learned that comfort wasn't really available, or that people could hurt or reject us instead, then our system gets an extra painful message. When I'm scared, right, I'm in fight or flight, because I'm a kid, there's nowhere safe to go, right? Nowhere safe to run to. So trauma says the world isn't safe, and insecure attachment says people aren't safe either. When for a person, both are true, the world isn't safe and people aren't safe either, the body and emotions have nowhere to rest. This is why people with attachment wounds often have more trouble calming down after trauma or even after stress, right? And can end up feeling emotionally overwhelmed or out of control for long periods of time, right? So, do you want to?
And this is just an agenda for what we'll do today. First, we're going to have a practice session with Barb, who kindly volunteered to go over the Holes diary cards. Then we will have a break, I believe, at that time. And then
Questions and
or
break.
questions, and then we'll have a break. And then Nicole and I will present the skills training workbook. We'll review pages 47 to 68. And that is focusing on more advanced distress tolerance skills. And there's 7 of them there. I'm not going to go through each one because we're going to talk about them in a little bit. And then after that, we're going to play what we created, and we hope it's fun, it's lighthearted. It's called the World Series of Simple Jeopardy. And then I guess we won't have Kate's summary today because unfortunately Kate's not here with us today.
Wait, you're Kate.
Yeah, I don't think I'll have time to prepare a
That's
summary.
true.
Sorry.
That was like nice. That was assertive. It wasn't passive or aggressive. It was very good. Okay. All right. So yeah, so today that's what we're doing. Holes diary card. Yeah, let's do the poll before we do the Holes diary card. Can you
Do we
put
want
up the poll? Sorry.
we're going to do the poll now.
Let's do the poll now and then we'll do the
Okay.
practice with Barb.
Okay, we'll pass those out. Perfect. It's back to front, everyone.
So people on Zoom, if you see the poll there, please fill it out.
Okay. Yep. Oh, the answers. So, and then we'll tally these and probably post it for next week. Next two. So that we can make decisions. Okay. Oh.
Do people need another minute or so, or everybody done? Who needs another minute? Okay. Give it another minute.
See how many people have, oh, everyone's voted online. So I'll read the Zoom poll answers here. So concerning crisis plans, I have come up with a crisis plan and I'm using it to prepare for a possible future crisis. That's 22% online. For me, crisis plans are still a work in progress. That's 56% online. I confess, I haven't really worked on a crisis plan, 22%. Concerning Holds diary cards, I have a Holds diary card and I've picked between 1 and 3 targets for change, 29%. For me, Holds diary cards are still a work in progress, 51%. I confess I haven't really worked on the Holds diary card, 20%. Concerning the distress tolerance skills that we are going through with Joan and Nicole, I've chosen a few distress tolerance skills that I think might help me in a crisis from among all the ones that we have reviewed was 48%. Let me just slide this down here. For me, picking a few distress tolerance skills that might help me in a crisis is still a work in progress. That's 45%. I confess I haven't thought much about picking distress tolerance skills that might help me in a crisis. That was 6%. Number 4, which of the following best describes why you sometimes find it difficult to do the homework or exercises between sessions? I forget about the homework between sessions was 31%. I run out of time or have too many other commitments was 28%. I'm not clear on what exactly I'm supposed to do is 28%. The assignments feel too long or complicated, 10%. I start but don't finish because I lose focus or motivation, 31%. I feel anxious or self-critical when I try to do it, 34%. I worry about doing it wrong, 21%. The homework brings up uncomfortable emotions, so I avoid it, 7%. I don't feel confident that it will help me, 17%. I'm just too tired or emotionally drained to do it, 28%. I feel disconnected from the group, 7%. I don't see the personal relevance of the homework, 3%. I want to do it, but I procrastinate until it's too late, 38%. I'm not sure what the deeper purpose of the homework is, 0%. I'm questioning the overall framework of the course with 3%. The material is too abstract or too intense for where I am right now. That's 3%. Number 5. What would help you do the homework more regularly? Clearer or more concrete instructions for each assignment, 18%. Shorter or simpler exercises was 29%. Pairing up with a homework buddy for accountability or support or having a homework group was 11%. Briefly discussing the past week's homework at each sessions, 39%. Knowing that others are struggling, 29%. Understanding the why or purpose behind each exercise was 4%. Having an example or model to follow was 43%. Being able to adapt the homework to fit my week or style, 21%. A brief midweek email reminding me of the homework was 36%. Please email us any other suggestions that you can think of that might be making the homework easier. I guess that was 14%, so I would like that. Are you interested in attending homework group on Mondays from 12:30 to 1, just before the boying group, starting next week, November 10th? Yes was 25%. No, thank you was
How many people
75.
was that?
36.
No, but the
7.
7 people?
7 said yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. So what we're gonna do, we usually present, because we have to compile this, we present the results of the in-person, your answers here. We present it the week after, so we'll present it next week. But for The last question, which is, do people want to have a homework group? I'll let everybody know by the end of today, okay? Whether we have more than 8 people, and if we do, then start next week, I'll show up at 12:30. It's gonna be very informal. I'm gonna bring my lunch, and we'll pair people up, and we can do like, what are they called? The groups that you pair people up on Zoom, they're breakout rooms. We can do that too, and every week we can change, those pairings and stuff. But at least we can give it a try, and then if it doesn't work, we don't have to continue. Okay, thank you, and let me leave there. So I think I'm going, because we're gonna do our practice now. And hold on just 1 second. So I'm not going to review this. If we have time at the end, after Joe and Nicole are done, we can review the Ho's Diary card. But if you want to look at it, just go to your the website. Just fast forward here. Okay. Yeah. So I think at this point, Lauren or Peg, we can maybe stop the recording.
All right, I've got that.
Okay. The recording sign. Oh, it's not there.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Are we good? Okay. Okay, everyone, welcome back. I'm just going to skip through these slides. This is just to update our skills list, and you can keep track of what we've done so far. There's a lot of them, and we're only on week 6. It's incredible. And there's the DBT diary card if you want to track that, your skills on that. So we're at, well, it says week 4, but actually we're week 6, right? I'm getting mixed up with the timeline.
That's our 4th week of the stress tolerance.
Yes, okay. Okay. So today we're going to talk more about advanced distress tolerance skills. So I just want to review briefly what the difference is between basic distress tolerance and advanced distress tolerance, because I know it can be a bit confusing. So those basic distress tolerance skills are all about surviving the moment. Okay, how can I tolerate the pain right now? Using your rest strategy, for instance. It's like a crisis first aid, short-term, practical, and often uses those sensory-based strategies and helps you hold on until the storm passes. Okay, so surviving the moment. These are the skills we encourage you to put into your crisis plan, those self-soothing, grounding techniques. Okay, where the advanced distress tolerance skills go beyond surviving the moment and moves towards peace, meaning, and resilience in ongoing and complex pain. All right, and today we're going to talk about 7 more advanced distress tolerance skills. The first one is live in the present moment. Okay. So living in the present moment is a distress tolerance skills that helps us ground ourselves when emotions or thoughts pull us into the past or the future. It's all about learning to anchor the mind in what's happening right now, in your breath, in this room, and in this experience. Okay, I think all of us can relate that at some point in time, we have mentally time traveled to the past or the future. And when we mentally travel, we stop paying attention to the here and now, the present moment. Time traveling to the past or future not only takes us away from the present moment, but it can also bring with it a lot of pain, especially if we catastrophize or worry about something that hasn't happened yet. Those questions you have in your head, oh, what if this happens? What if, right? Or worry about or ruminate on past mistakes or things that happened to you in the past that cannot be changed. those questions you say, oh, I should have did this. I should have did that. Okay. So we can, however, living in the present moment is sort of like those grounding techniques that we've talked about as a basic distress tolerance skill. But living in the present moment as an advanced distress tolerance skills goes to a different level. So if you notice that you time travel a lot, use that as a target on your Holes diary card. Okay, and be mindful that when you feel distress, ask yourself, am I time traveling? And track that on your Holes diary card. Okay, and this will become a good way of becoming more aware that you do this. Okay.
So, okay. Grounding yourself in the present moment. So if you are distressed, notice or be mindful of your thoughts. Ask yourself if you're time traveling, which is what Joan said. So stuff about the past might be like, oh, reviewing your past mistakes that are constantly coming up, or the future, like, what if this happens, or what if that happens? So if you bring your focus, or if you are, bring your focus back to the now, or ground yourself to the present moment. So to focus or ground yourself in the present, try noticing your breath. This returns you to the present. So if you notice that your mind is thinking like, oh, I'm breathing. Oh yeah, but what happens if, I fail that test? You have to bring yourself back to the moment and say, oh, I need to focus on my breath. So, right, noticing your bodily sensation, how your feet feel on the floor, maybe how your hands feel. Are you clenching your fists? And using any of the other distress tolerance skills that we've learned so far. So practicing the listening to now, which Joan will do here, and the mindful breathing exercises, which you can find on page 48 and 49 of the green workbook. Certainly, I think Joan's going to do the listening to now exercise, but due to time, we will skip the mindful breathing exercise. But if you're reading it and say, you know what, this really resonates with me. Like I said, our cell phones are lovely nowadays. You can record your own voice, or maybe have one of your friends or family members do it, and then play it back to yourself. So remember, you can use time traveling, catastrophizing, so thinking of the worst, or ruminating as targets, once again, on your Holes diary card.
Okay, so we thought that it would be good to try practicing one of these exercises right now. So feel free to follow along as I read through. Okay, so start off, get comfortable in your chair, and Zoom participants get comfortable wherever you are, and turn off any distractions, including your phone. I love how they put radio here. I'm not sure how many people have radios these days, a computer or a television. Start by taking slow, long breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feel your stomach expand like a balloon each time you breathe in, and feel it deflate each time you exhale. Now, as you continue to breathe, simply listen. Listen to any sounds you hear outside the room here, and for Zoom, outside your home. Inside your own body, listen. Count each sound that you hear. When you get distracted, return your focus to listening. Maybe you hear cars, people, airplanes. Perhaps you hear a clock ticking or a fan blowing, like on our monitor here. Or maybe you hear the sound of your own heart beating inside your body. Actively and carefully listen to your environment and count as many sounds as you can. Try this exercise for about 5 minutes and notice how you feel afterwards. For the sake of time, we can't take those 5 minutes, but you can see probably how this is a very easy exercise you can take with you anywhere if you just need that moment to be a little more present, living in the present. And variations to this exercise will help you stay focused while you're in a conversation with another person. Have you ever noticed that your attention begins to wander and you start to think about your past, your future, and your focus on something that the person is wearing? Then try that. Check to see if they have buttons. What are the colors of their outfit? Right? Are they wearing a hat? Do they have a collar on their shirt? Note to yourself what color the item is and what it looks like. Sometimes this can snap you out of your time traveling. Now continue to listen. And if your mind begins to wander, again, do the same thing and try to keep listening. And here is the mindful breathing exercise, another variation of living in the present. So give that a try on your own time and see if that's helpful.
Okay, number 2, use self-encouraging coping thoughts. So many people feel better when others encourage them. However, there are times when we're distressed and all alone and need to encourage ourselves to stay strong. Learning self-encouragement statements and making them a personal mantra can be very helpful. Self-encouraging coping statements or thoughts might, for example, remind us of how strong we've been in the past and how we've survived previous distressing situations. So use them when you're feeling distressed. Use them in your crisis plans. I have a really good example of this. So last year, my daughter was in a hockey game for the semifinals and they went out to penalty shots. So she was only 10 at the time. And so she was number 8. So all the girls that missed were coming off crying. And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. My daughter's name is Emma. She's at the center line. I can see she's like, okay, she's in the middle. I'm like, what is going through her mind? Because I was trying to make a video and I was shaking. And so she got top corner, won the game. She came over, the girls jumped off the bench. What a moment, right? So afterwards I said, Emma, what was going through your mind when you're at center ice? And she goes, you know what, Mom? I was thinking, I can do this. I just have to hit the net, right? I've done this before. I can hit the net. And I was like, atta girl, right? So even in a moment when the arena was dead silent and her anxiety, well, my anxiety was through the roof. She was able to kind of say, you know what? I got this, right? She gave herself a little pep talk. And sure enough, she did. Because here I was thinking, oh gosh, if she misses, all the coaches were consoling the girls that missed their shot. And I'm like, oh, the heartache with that. But she did it. So you know what? In times when you feel that you can't, be like the little train the engine that could, right? I think I can. I got this, right? So other examples of self-encouragement statements is this too shall pass. That's a pretty popular one. Or I can be anxious and still deal with the situation. I'm strong enough to handle what's happening to me right now. So come up with your own self-encouragement statements. And here's some more. So certainly if you're like, oh, I just don't know where to start, go through and maybe highlight, maybe circle, write them down somewhere, right? So you can always say, I'm not in danger right now, right? What do I do next? This situation sucks, but it's only temporary, right? So that's a really good example too.
Okay, radical acceptance. Now, if you remember, we've talked about radical acceptance already as a basic distress tolerance skill. So you're wondering, why is it here on the advanced distress tolerance skill? So let me explain. In basic radical acceptance, The emphasis is surviving the moment to help you get through an emotional crisis. It focuses on reducing the suffering by accepting reality as it is, even when it's painful, unfair, or not what we wanted. Remember those arrows, the metaphor of the arrows? The first arrow is painful. That's reality. We got hit with the arrow. Yes, it hurts. That's the reality of it. But what radical acceptance helps you do is prevent all the second arrows coming at you, the suffering ones. Now, I can give you a lighthearted example of using the Blue Jays, the loss in Game 7. Oh my goodness. There was a lot of pain there. That arrow was coming at us hard. But for my husband, he has been suffering with this loss. He keeps saying, oh, they should have did this. He pinpoints certain things that happened in the game, as some of us could. Well, they should have did this. That player shouldn't have slid at home plate. He should have kept running right through. And I said to him, you know what? Yes, it's painful. They lost. That's awful. It's heartbreaking, but that's the reality. Stop the suffering. We'll get them next year. That's me. I'm trying to be optimistic. We're working through it, but that's an example of that. So in advanced radical acceptance, the difference is at this level, it becomes more than a momentary coping tool. It becomes a way of being, it goes beyond surviving the moment and moves towards acceptance and peace. All right. It moves from, I accept this happened, to I am living from a place of acceptance. It involves radically accepting the self, yourself, others, and life, not just one event. And it encourages turning the mind towards acceptance when resistance reappears. So let me give you an example here. Let's say you applied for a job that you really, really wanted, and you received an email saying, sorry, you were not this successful candidate. With basic radical acceptance, you can tell yourself, hey, it hurts. I don't like it, but it happened, right? In that moment, do your self-soothing, breathe, try to ground yourself to get through that moment. In the advanced radical acceptance, you can tell yourself, it hurts, but this time you're going to be more compassionate to yourself. You say, you know what? That job maybe wasn't a right fit for me. There will be other jobs that come along that I'll enjoy more. I'll look forward to applying to those when they become available. You're more compassionate and you're more accepting of the situation. I hope that helps with clarifying the difference between the two. Reminding yourself, I can't change this, but I can choose how to live with it, and practice compassion towards yourself and others for being human. And in this course, it may feel like we're focusing mostly on the change aspect, but radical acceptance reminds us of the importance of accepting things as they are, our faults and warts and all, and will help you live from acceptance and finding peace amid life's challenges. So I hope that helps a bit there.
Okay, number 4, self-affirming statements. So self-affirming statements are similar to self-encouragement or encouraging statements. The difference is that self-encouragement is about what we can do, while self-affirmation is about who we are. Self-affirmation helps our self-esteem. It reminds us of our good qualities and can help us cope in distressing situations. So there's a doctor we work with who always says, we're like Velcro for the bad and Teflon for the good, right? Does anybody resonate with that statement? Those negative thoughts that we have, that internal critic, those things stick to us and they are, yep, 100% true, right? When somebody says something positive, we're like, oh, yeah, okay, thanks. I try to be a good friend, right? But we really don't let that in. right? So self-affirming statements, next time you know you're struggling and say, you know what, but I am a good person. I am a good friend. Actually feel it. Let it into your body and let that good feeling sit with you for a minute, right? We're so good at taking, like, if somebody was mean to us, we hear a lot of like, I just don't deserve love, right? And it's like, do you though? And they're like, no, I want to be loved. I am a lovable, I'm a kind person. I deserve this. Let that stuff sink in, right? Not that negative stuff. So try to be the Velcro for the good. Try to switch it around. Okay. So when we're distressed, our thoughts about ourselves can become more negative. We ruminate on these negative thoughts, and that digs us deeper into the hole. So example of self-affirming statements, so that they're on the left there. I am a good person. I'm becoming a better person every day, right? I am here for a reason. I am not perfect, but I get better every day are examples. These two can become your mantra, right? So find some, or maybe ask a friend, you know, what are my good qualities? And let that stuff sink in. So there's some more examples if you're stuck. So take a few minutes and pick 2 self-encouraging coping thoughts and 2 self-affirming statements from the list provided and write them down and save them for your crisis plan. So there's lots of examples there. This too shall pass is always a popular one, but find what works for you.
Okay. So the feelings threat balance, or what we abbreviate to FTB, and that might be important to remember in a few minutes. So feelings threat balance is a lesser known distress tolerance skill, but yet it's still equally powerful. And it focuses on regulating the emotional intensity, so what we're feeling, with what really is going on in the environment. So usually it's something when we perceive a threat, okay? Your intense emotion with a perceived threat. And you have to remind yourself, not every strong feeling means that you are in danger. Okay, so whenever we have these intense emotions, they're usually accompanied by urges to act, you know, that fight, flight, freeze, right? Impulsive acting on these urges can make our lives more difficult and dig us into deeper holes. All right. We can use the feelings threat balance, or FTB, to assess the objective level of threat, so what we actually see in the environment, and determine whether we, 1, should take action in response to the perceived threat, or 2, not act impulsively and focus on coping with our feelings, maybe using your REST strategy. So if you see, for instance, a fire in your kitchen, that is real. You see it, it's there, your emotions are high. You know it's a time to kind of get out. Safety is the priority, okay? Sometimes we know with emotional reasoning, it's our human tendency to sometimes believe that that strong feeling confirms there's some truth about a situation. So if you feel intense anxiety, it must mean that there's something coming that's very dangerous. But yet you can't see anything. It's just your anxiety that's so intense, telling you there is going to be danger. And as Dr. Clado talked about earlier, people who have been through trauma always have on high alert, always feel there's danger, right? When there is a balance between our feelings, so the emotions, and the threat, so you see a fire in your kitchen and your feelings are quite high, you know there's a balance, you need to get out for safety. However, when there's a discrepancy between our feelings and the threat, then it's preferable maybe to try and cope with your emotions and not respond in that moment. Bring down your level of intensity so you can get a more balanced view of the situation and make a more rational or wise decision. So how do you do this? This sounds a little confusing. We get that. So maybe try first, pause and check. When you feel your intense emotion, pause and check. Notice what you're feeling. Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling scared? And then check for the actual threat. Okay, ask yourself, do I just feel this, or do I physically see something happening? Right? And then, according to what you see, if self-harm is there, if there's an abusive relationship and you perceive a dangerous, immediate threat, you get out. Right? In a more slightly less dangerous situation, let's say you sent a text out to a friend and you sent it out in the morning and you've been waiting anxiously for this friend to text you back. You haven't heard them all day. You start to feel an intense feeling of rejection, maybe, or disappointment, maybe some anxiety. And you're thinking, oh, they don't like me anymore. But in that moment, that's your intense feeling. You don't see objectively, there is a clear, definitive reason why they haven't texted you back. So what you do in that moment, you use self-regulating skills, self-soothing skills. You take some breaths, you try to ground yourself, calm yourself down, and rebalance your thinking. Ask yourself in that moment, hey, you know what? They're probably busy. I'm sure they'll get back to me later. Right? So you're settling yourself, you're rebalancing the thinking, and you can tell yourself, it's okay, I can feel anxious and still feel safe. The goal isn't stopping the feeling, it's to balance feeling with truth. But remember, if the situation is truly unsafe, we want to stress, like there's physical danger or risk of harm. Your emotional alarm that's there is working correctly. In this case, distress is not something you say to you, is not something that you need to put to the side. It's telling you, get out, call 911. And once you have secured your safety, that's when you can start using your self-soothing. Say, okay, I'm safe now. I'm away from that situation. Okay? So feelings, threat, balance doesn't minimize threat. It helps you respond with clarity. It teaches you to trust emotions as information and reality as confirmation of what's really going on. I know it's confusing.
Okay, create new coping strategies. So in the last 4 skill sessions, we've covered most of the distress tolerance skills. In 2 weeks, we will discuss the last distress tolerance skills and the physiological skills. The emotional freedom technique we did as our mindfulness exercise today can be considered a physiological skill. So on pages 64 to 65 of the Green Workbook, there is a template to help us reflect on the videos of previous distressing situations we've encountered and consider what new coping strategies we could have used instead. So an example might be, so the first column says distressing situation. So for myself, I easily become overwhelmed by doing too many tasks, chores, errands in a day. So I'll go to work, come home and be like, okay, we got to do, get supper ready, get lunches, the lunchbox boxes washed, cleaned, lunches for tomorrow, kids have hockey, kids have homework. And then by the time I get to my bedtime routine, I just call it a day and go to bed. Okay. So my old coping strategies is I would push myself to get all the things done, right? Unhealthy consequences would be I was feeling stressed, exhausted, I was irritable, right? So new coping strategies is I spread the tasks out in a week. I don't have to do 5 loads of laundry tonight, right? I can focus on, okay, what do we need for the next 2 days, right? Instead of doing all of it at once. And I can delegate the chores, which can go over smoothly, mostly not, And a healthier possible consequence of doing that is I feel better both physically and mentally and have healthier relationships with my family members. They may not like that I delegate chores to them, but at the same time, I am doing them some service. But they also see a happier mom, right? So this can be done by using the Holes Diary card, chain analysis, which we'll talk about, and the editing, splicing, and pasting. Use that. Remember that technique if you have limited time. So use the simple tools and bypass these workbook exercises if you like.
And finally, we're not going to go into this in a great detail. I know in the skills workbook, they encourage you to create an emergency coping plan using the template on page 67. However, we really encourage you to incorporate some of these skills, try to use them in your crisis plan that we use as the simple tool, just to simplify things and not to confuse everyone. So try some of those. And if you think they might be helpful to incorporate in your crisis plan, please do so and incorporate those in. And this is just some to review the crisis plan algorithm. I'm not going to go over that in great detail, if that's okay, Dr. Clado. Did you have a question?
Oh, homework group.
Oh, right. Yes. So I'll just please review these slides if you want to review the algorithm for the crisis plan. And here's, of course, a copy of the crisis plan that we've talked about before. And there's our updated distress tolerance skills 20. Wow, that's a lot. Honestly, we encourage everybody to look at those and maybe try all of them, certainly, but just highlight the ones that you feel would be really, really helpful to you and that you can incorporate into your day-to-day life. Oh, we already had our break, but we just want to mention that with the poll question, that final question about the homework group, most people on Zoom and in person support attending the homework group. So we are going to go ahead and offer the homework group starting on Monday at 12:30 in the same room as where the Boyne group takes place. So at 12:30 to 1 is the homework group starting on Monday, November 10th, I believe it is. Okay, so this brings us to last year. For those who are new to the course this year, last year, Nicole and I came up with a Jeopardy game to kind of review some of the distress tolerance skills we had talked about so far. And we had some technical issues with getting the game to work. So this year, we tried again, and we're hoping that it'll work this time. So what we plan to do, Lauren, who has kindly offered to run the game from her end. And what we're going to do, we have the in-person group are the Avondale Angels, and the Zoom Zenmester are participants on Zoom. And we did a coin toss earlier today, and the Avondale Angels will respond first, and we'll take from there, picking a category and a question, and we'll see how this goes. And at the end, we hope we have what is it called, Dr. Clado, number 51? The Prop World Series Jeopardy champion? Simple World Champion? Yeah, it's the championship. And the Jays didn't win, but you know what? We can be world champions ourselves, right?
And if you're on Zoom, use the hand icon if you know the answer.
And
please.
Peg will let us know who's answering for the questions. So we'll stop recording. Lauren, are you there?